Welcome in. We're talking Heroic Disgrace with author Scott Box. If you can't see it, I'll get it right up in your face. You can see the reflection of our awesome lights on that. We're talking Fight or Flight today.
Yeah, Fight or Flight. This is maybe one that every living human
Yes.
and dead human even has gone through.
Yes.
Yeah, Fight or Flight is it's brutal.
So we can throw a little timestamp on this. You can cut it if you want. Russia right now is attacking Ukraine in a war between the two countries. And I think about the citizens there coming to a moment when you hear the tanks coming down the street, or you might be your building is having soldiers come through it, or however it works. Yeah. Okay. I don't pretend to know. I am lucky enough, and we are blessed enough to be a generation who hasn't been at war in America on our soil. But I will say that those people in Ukraine right now are having to decide fight or flight.
Boy.
They're having to think right now, am I running or am I standing my ground? Am I going to fight? So we can bring that, of course, back to the subsection in Heroic Disgrace of Fight or Flight. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So there was a situation in my story and my journey when I was maybe 2 years out of college. I was back at George Fox University working in the alumni department, and my job was a cool job, actually, where I was tasked with working with students in the alumni department. So alumni are the folks who have graduated already. Well, this concept was to develop affinity at the student level for the institution, even like very direct affinity. Right. You know, how can we affect this generation in such a way that they'll love George Fox for the rest of their life?
Right.
And it was super fun thing. So I was developing events and opportunities, leadership opportunities. It was great. One of the things was I had to stand up, though, in front of the alumni board.
No one likes doing this, right?
No. Oh, my gosh. And being young and not confident in myself, or really I didn't have many skills talking in front of folks. I did. I stood up I had an opportunity to stand up and introduce a couple students, and it was the time I had my first panic attack. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you run away?
I didn't primarily because I couldn't. I was backed into a corner.
Okay, so let's talk fight or flight. I mean, in some situations, there's no flight. You can't fight.
Yeah, I had to fight. So here's oh man, yeah. So you actually have a third option in fight or flight.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, it's fetal position.
Oh, nice.
You just kind of start sucking your thumb.
So you did this on stage in front of 100 people.
But I almost did.
You wanted to.
I did. I didn't remember these students' names. I mean, so the walls just started closing in. And every physiological thing that happens, the sweats and the shakes and, the heartbeat, all of it, the shallow breathing was all there. And so
you forgot to breathe. You locked your knees.
Everything. And so I actually had to turn to the students, and I had just enough wherewithal before, I collapsed, if you will, to just say, you need to introduce yourselves. I sat down. And they looked at me like deer in the headlights. What are you doing? And I remember I have this. This is so crazy because this friend of mine has now passed away, but he was sitting across the table from me, and I'll always have this in my memory of. His name was Scott as well, and Scott looked at me and was like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
He just whispered across the table, mouthed it, "Are you okay?" And I remember shaking my head like. I have no idea what the hell just happened.
Wow.
I have no idea. And anyway, it was awful. It was awful because I couldn't run. The meeting adjourned there was a midpoint adjournment. And I remember looking at my boss and just told her, I need to go home.
Wow.
I need to go home. And I had never experienced anything so identity wrecking before. And
you've thought about it though. Like you've thought like standing in the batter's box, maybe like if I totally flail on a swing, I will never be able to hit a ball again. Everyone will laugh at me. Right. Playing ball. There's those times. And at this point, had you led worship yet or no?
Oh yeah, I had for years, which is crazy. I had been professionally employed as a music leader in churches.
But and something happened.
Yeah. And so this is on the tail end of Carrie Ann. Things had been ramping up since Carrie Ann and I had got married. When I experienced my first run-in with fear after we got married, it was like the day after, and we've talked about this in a previous episode about the near panic attack that I had in a taxi in Cabo, Mexico. This was times 10, in front of all these people, and the I don't know. I'm trying to say like the risks. It wasn't even the risks. There was just so much more on the line. It felt like in front of so many people,
and you wanted to do it great as part.
I didn't want to stink, and I think the other component to this that I hadn't processed really until just now, even, is that my dad is really, or was really, really, really good at talking in front of people. I had set the expectations for his polish on me, and I didn't and will never have the polish that Tom Box had.
Wow.
I'm Scott Box. And
hi, Scott. I'm Clint.
I'm not polished, Clint.
Nice to meet you.
It's very nice to meet you.
Let's not be polished. Let's continue on this, because I will sit here and I will smile and I will laugh because this is such a serious situation. Okay. I'm not making light of this. You're not making light of this, but we know that sometimes comedy and laughing can help us through really tough times. Now, obviously this situation was nothing to laugh at, but looking back at it now, what could you have done differently in that moment, in that situation, with the resources you have available to you now? Now, for me, let me jumpstart this.
Keep going.
Okay, clear. Let me jumpstart this here. I would have started my breathing exercises. If I'm sitting there and the moments are coming where I'm going to have to introduce these people, I would grab a whole lot of oxygen and hold my lungs to try to calm me down. That would be the first thing that I would do, is do my breathing. Secondly, we all know this from the plenty of videos you can see online of guys falling off stages at weddings from locking their knees, right? So, not locking your knees if you're standing, being able to just relax a little bit and just to know that
these are practical things.
Practical, just to give you just straight ideas at least, because in this situation, by the way, I think 3% of the world is fine with standing in front of people and talking. That's not high.
That's not high. And all of them are narcissists.
They are.
I'm joking.
They're like, look at me. I want to get up in front and talk.
No, I'm joking.
So you are in this situation and it's fight or flight. Now you can't fetal position it. That would also be weird. That would wreck your whole idea of everything more.
Yeah.
So
right.
The students, they get up and they introduce themselves. Hi, I'm Joe Blow and I'm Sarah Smith or whatever. And it goes on fine. People probably didn't even notice. Yeah. But in your mind, what were you fighting? What were you thinking?
Well, to that original idea of what I could have done, and then to what I was thinking, I do believe that you're right. There are some very practical things in the moment, unless it's practiced, like unless you've, in my experience, unless it wasn't until I had numerous experiences like this that I actually started to figure out how to manage the situation. I didn't, because it steamrolls you.
Yeah, it does.
And it's not easy.
And it's instantaneous.
Right. It's not easy to know, let me just
Prepare
open my pocket or open the tool belt and start pulling tools and be like, let me think about this one.
Right.
No, it's like you need a freaking sledgehammer right now to bash it away, and you don't have one.
Right. And you're praying, obviously.
There's a sense of God, this can't be happening. Oh God, this can't be happening again. Like that's where fear starts taking control.
Yeah.
And the sense of chaos too, because things it does tumble. There's this sense of, have you ever been caught in a wave where
Oh, absolutely.
some folks who
But
haven't
did
been,
I ride that wave to perfection?
did you? You probably did.
I've gotten bashed a few times.
So everybody that's been out in the ocean in waves has been surprised from time to time by the power of even a small wave and what is underneath that can just pull you and then tumble you. Yeah. And I've gotten my face smashed into the sand. There's that sense of tumbling and then getting face planted
Absolutely.
in the sand and then praying to God that your neck isn't broken.
Right.
You know, that's
It's funny you bring up the ocean. I'm just going to jump in. It's funny you bring up the ocean. I am obsessed with the ocean, the undertow of the ocean. Okay, my production company has been called that for years.
Undertow
and
Productions,
here's
that's
why.
right.
You look at the waves and it's a beautiful thing, but God's at work underneath. Okay, the undertow is how God is working and changing things and molding the beach and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so as a young man being on the beaches in San Diego, 14 years old, I just felt the undertow is the most powerful thing we don't see. Okay. And as you're saying this, I'm realizing that when you are in that undertow and you don't know up from down, okay, and in an ocean, you got to be careful, by the way. You hopefully aren't out too deep, but you get out there and you try to put your feet under you, but you don't know if you're upside down or not. And you're trying to clamber and feel for the beach and push up or whatever, if you're close enough. And in those situations, that's a panic attack.
Oh yeah,
That's a panic attack right there, where you don't know what's up or down. You don't know.
well, and you're losing your breath.
And you're losing your breath.
You've got only seconds.
Absolutely. So in this fight or flight, okay, because I could talk fight or flight all day. We could do 5 episodes on this, because you have to fight if you're in the ocean. You have to fight if you're in a panic attack. Yeah. You have to, again, it's instantaneous. Mm-hmm. You have to have some tools in your tool belt, as you say. How later? Mm-hmm. An hour after. Mm-hmm. How did this affect you, and what did you think back on, and was it still affecting you?
So I recall and I can only say it as identity wrecking. I mean, I lost my sense of self in a way that I had never lost before. I was so completely pummeled, if you will. Maybe kind of in this analogy, I was still tumbling. I hadn't found the beach yet. I hadn't found what was up or down.
An hour later.
I was still tumbling.
Right. And you were tired. You were exhausted from it.
Yeah. I was so spent, and I didn't. My measure, the measure of self-worth was as puny and pathetic as I ever had been. And I went home to Carrie Ann. We were married, and I went home, and I just laid on the floor and thought, I don't deserve this house, this wife, my child. Actually, by that point in time, we didn't have. Ainsley wasn't around, but later on when these things happened, it was the same identity thing until I realized what was happening, and I got good counseling in my life. Once I got good.
How long did it take out from this first incident?
Yeah. Until
you looked for counsel outside of your wife and family?
At least 4 years.
It's a long
Far
time.
too long.
Too long.
Yeah,
okay.
And it wasn't until 5 or 6 years later that I had a good idea of how to manage it.
But you say something there that is the next subsection, I believe, depression. It's coming up.
Yes, that's where we go.
And you say something in there that is a depression mindset, that you didn't deserve what you had. Now, this has nothing to do with you failing on stage. If you were a singer in a rock and roll band, like 99% of concerts I've ever been to, the singer of the rock and roll band forgets the words to his own song.
Been there.
All the time, okay? This happens all the time. And as fans, we're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter. But if you had that situation and you forgot the words to a worship song, leading worship, you wouldn't think, I don't deserve my wife and family. That's a depression, trend. Okay. You're trending in the wrong position there, in the wrong direction. And what I am seeing just from hearing this, and I'm not a doctor in any way, shape, or form, but I've been through this enough to understand and help you and you through this. Man, 4 years is entirely too long. This should have been something you should have seeked out some counsel within the month.
I was afraid.
Right, of course.
I was so afraid of what they would tell me.
Right.
But I was willing to get help.
Right.
I just didn't know where to get help.
Exactly.
I didn't know where. I always thought psychologists were complete idiots.
Right.
Because my dad told me so.
Right.
I mean,
you don't need that.
Dad,
man up.
And I don't blame him.
Just white knuckle this.
Just white knuckle it.
Just
I mean,
keep
that's what the
going.
boxes did. That's what made us heroic. Right?
In that, there's a lot of disgrace.
It was so disgraceful.
There's a need for grace in this.
Yeah.
So fight or flight, again.
This is good, man.
We can talk a lot about the fight or flight. But heroic disgrace, in this moment, you felt disgraced. You felt like you as a person were not who you had set out to be. What is the final thought on this that can help people through that same feeling? That is a lie of Satan, by the way. That's a lie. Come on.
Right.
That's a lie. If you have a mental breakdown or you have some health issues with mentally, it has nothing to do with who you are as a person and what you deserve in life and what God has blessed you with. So what's your final thought on how to seek help in those moments?
Yeah. So I would say that it is so important to understand that sin makes us disgraceful, if you will. I mean, we step back and we just, in every way, we are wrecked because of sin.
Yeah.
And Christ comes along, and with his grace, he flips that whole concept of disgrace upside down. Jesus came and suffered on a cross, and the cross actually became his glory.
Right.
I mean, that's what everybody steps back. If you step back and think about, this is why Jesus has changed the world.
Right.
And so disgrace is something that I embrace now.
I like that. That's a T-shirt right there.
Yeah, I know it is. I just kind of I haven't said that before, but
copywritten.
But it is it. I mean, disgrace is something that I embrace now, and I haven't my whole life. And the idea of heroic disgrace is that we would absolutely dial ourselves into a lifestyle that Jesus led, and find that there is, even when fight or flight hits, because that's a real thing. We're not going to escape fight or flight all the time. But it's on the tail end of that, most importantly, that our identity is not found in that. That's what wrecked me so much on the back end of it, was that I thought I was useless. And my purpose was so completely lost in those moments. Christ he knows.
Right.
So that's that idea of embracing the disgrace and then going, my purpose hasn't been deterred by this.
Not at all. Not at all. And to find help, you can reach out to your counselors at school. You can reach out to your pastors at church. You can reach out to a psychologist or psychiatrist in your area, whatever it might be. Obviously, the first thing would be to talk to the loved ones about this and to let them know that you are suffering panic or anxiety or depression, of course. Any of these things, they all kind of go hand in hand, and you are not alone. So heroicdisgrace.com. You can find Heroic Disgrace on Amazon. And obviously, search out Worship Hero for more of the projects that we're doing on any of your social media platforms. Thank you for joining us today. It's a heavy topic, but we are here with you, and we're just going to bomb through it. And fight or flight, man. Let's just keep fighting.
Yeah, let's keep fighting.
Let's just keep on fighting. It's an everyday thing, right?
That's right.
So we're here with you to fight. So have a great day.